guess where we're at?
Proverbs 6.
Proverbs 6. But we'll go over Proverbs 5 like normal. Proverbs 5 was a little bit short. And just had some standard advice like it's been saying for the most part on all of Proverbs. But my son, attend unto my wisdom and bow thine ear to understanding, that thou mayest regard discretion and that thy lips may keep knowledge. So again, in all Proverbs, they start with a listen up most of the time when it changes topics just a little bit. For the lips of a strange woman drop as a honeycomb, and her mouth is smoother than oil, but her end is bitter as wormwood, sharp as a two-edged sword. So it's just a warning about the superpower that women have kind of over men. So be careful of girls trying to honeypot you in. That's where the honey comes from. So her feet go down to death, her steps take hold on hell. Lest thou shouldest ponder the path of life, her ways are movable, thou canst not know them. So their ways are movable. The first thing that popped in my mind kind of was like, oh yeah, they don't really know where to eat, or they'll ask you a question knowing the answer and just wanting you to get it right. Typical things that girls do. But more so it's about the fact that they'll do whatever it takes to sucker you in at certain times. So they can be whatever, do whatever, and really they just have no roots. They're not rooted is what this is talking about. They can pick up whatever they're doing in their life and try to set up the shop in somebody else's. And when their life is not Christian when you're doing that, some very godly men can be pulling down by the woman with the honeycomb lips and all that stuff. So her ways are movable, thou canst not know them. So you're not really going to know their intentions because they'll change daily. No reason to stick with the same intentions on the other 2 days. And this is warning them not really go down that path, not take hold on this. And also, if you're going to read it in any context too, if you're a girl reading this, maybe don't be like this one. Don't have movable ways. Don't stand on hell. Steps take hold on hell. Just different advice that you can take from it depending on how you read it and how you look at it. Hear me now, therefore, O children, and depart not from thy words of my mouth. Remove thy way far from her, and come not nigh the door of her house. Lest thou give thine honor unto others, and thy years unto the cruel, lest strangers be filled with thy wealth, and thy labors be in the house of a stranger. So, it is an honor, and you do honor yourself when you keep kind of pure, kind of, away from all the bad stuff. And this one's saying not only is it bad when you do that, but you're giving away more of your honor. You're sacrificing little parts of yourself. Kind of like certain things you can do can really expose you and ruin you for the rest of your life. Some things you can do with that. But not to give your honor unto others, and then let strangers be filled with thy wealth. That means if you just go out and work all the time, and then everything you do to honor yourself will just go into honoring them, or just into the, mess that they could get you into here. So, thy labors be in the house of a stranger. And thou mourn at last when thy flesh and thy body are consumed, and say, how have I hated instruction, and my heart despised reproof, and have not obeyed the voice of my teachers, nor inclined mine ear to them that instructed me. I was almost in all evil in the midst of the congregation and assembly. So like we was talking about last week, everybody's at one point been like, I should have listened. You do something, you want to try to do it your own way, and you've been told to do it this way, and it doesn't work out for you. You either get hurt or you get your feelings hurt. It can happen sometimes. But this is what Proverbs is about. It's about giving instruction. It's about, so when something happens, you can't say, well, no one ever told me. It's kind of what the whole focus of Proverbs is someone did tell you. Someone biblically gave you the instructions through this chapter on how to navigate, how to stay righteous, how to stay holy, how to get out of the way of just yourself and out of man, as we'll see here maybe in the next chapter. We're not really almost full yet. We'll get to it. Drink waters out of thine own cistern, and running waters out of thine own well. Let thy fountains be dispersed abroad, and the rivers of water in the streets. Let them be only thine own, and not strangers with thee. So here, drinking waters out of your own cistern, kind of you can take it as a mind your business, but it's more so focus on your business. Pay attention to your business, and let the good things that you do spread to other people. Let thy fountains be dispersed abroad. That other people, you're trained up, you're well up enough, that other people can also come and drink out of your well, drink of your water. You know how to help them through thirst, through everything that you go through. Let them be thine own and not strangers with thee. Let thy fountain be blessed and rejoice with the wife of thy youth. Be satisfied with your wives. I know it's hard for a lot of guys to go through. Like, I've been married like 15 years. My wife's getting old, blah, blah, blah. Just get over that because the Bible says you're not allowed to do that. Everybody looking around. Some people know who I'm talking about, some don't. No, but let her be as the loving hind and the pleasant roe. There's a roe, there's a hind. It's just animals is what it's talking about. And let her breast satisfy thee at all times, and be thou ravished always with her love. So you have to stay attracted to her too. It's more so what the Bible says. You can't think your wife's ugly when she gets older. You're not allowed to biblically. And I'm going to say this probably works the other way too for the wives. Even though it didn't directly talk to them, it's because it was Old Testament, but it doesn't mean you can't read it and get the same exact meaning from the Bible. And why wilt thou, my son, be ravished with a strange woman, and embrace the bosom of a stranger? For the ways of man are before the eyes of the Lord, and he pondereth all his goings. So if you're going to, this is just saying to not do, when we were talking about honor earlier, not just give it away. What benefit do you get from the strange woman, from giving yourself to strange women and all of that? Most of the time you just mess a lot of things up. And this is one of those few sins where, again, I don't want to spoil it, but you do it to yourself this time. It's not more so the devil necessarily doing it, although I'm sure he does set it up and play a part. But this is destroying yourself, your own soul. And Jesus is watching everything you do. The ways of man are before the eyes of the Lord. So you're not going to hide it. You can be a private. You can do anything in private. You're never technically alone when you walk in this life. So consider that always. And his own iniquity shall take the wicked himself, and he shall be holden with the cords of his sins. He shall die without instruction, and in the greatness of his folly he shall go astray. So his own iniquity shall take the wicked himself. And here it talks to her, kind of backs up what I was talking about, and this is one that you do to yourself. So when you are wicked, you just dig your own grave, so to speak. The more you take part in these acts, the harder it's going to be to get back out. Earlier in Proverbs, in the 1, it said, those that go to her house never return. So, as you can see, it's probably very seldom that people can get out of this trap. But it is possible. And he shall die without instruction, and in the greatness of his folly he shall go astray. Just real quick, go back over Proverbs 5. Go into Proverbs 6. My son, if thou be surety for thy friend, if thou hast stricken thy hand with a stranger, thou art snared with the words of thy mouth. Thou art taken with the words of thy mouth. Do this now, my son, and deliver thyself when thou art come into the hand of thy friend. Go, humble thyself, and make sure thy friend. Anybody ever got in a fight with a friend before? It's a little bit different when guys and girls fight their friends. Because one, you're not mad at this person, but at the same time, because they're your friend, you're a different kind of mad at this person, because I don't know really how to explain it. But this is what's saying, biblically, don't let that happen. If you got a problem with your friend right now and it's causing you problems, which it will because they're your friend, it's not like you made some stranger mad you're never going to see again. It's saying just do it right. Just go make it right now. Do this now, my son, and deliver thyself when thou art come into the hand of thy friend. Go humble thyself and make sure thy friend. Apologize or forgive. It's really as easy as that. Either you did something wrong, you need to just get over it and apologize for it, or they did something wrong to you, in which case you need to get over it and forgive them for it. They're your friends. Things happen every now and then. Sometimes they do something to make you mad. Don't be like these guys here. I thought this was the funniest kid fight picture I've ever seen. So I'm more so talking to you kids because you're the ones going to fight your friends a little bit more than us right now. But I just remember it. Growing up, this is about it. Guys don't pull hair though. It's not a guy way to fight. Give not sleep to thine eyes, nor slumber to thine eyes. Deliver thyself as a roe, which is again that little goat thing. Roe from the hand of the hunter, and as a bird from the hand of the fowler. Go to the ant, thou sluggard. Consider her ways and be wise. Where have we heard that one before? Oh, in the trivia, yeah, for those that come to that. Go to the ant, thou sluggard. Consider her ways and be wise. Which having no guide, overseer, or ruler, provideth her meat in the summer and gathereth her food in the harvest. So you say they do have a ruler, they have an ant queen. An ant queen in the nest is, her sole purpose is to make more ants, to lay the babies. So there is not necessarily a hierarchy of everybody has to tell the ants what to do. They just know what to do. And their bodies are even different. You can even be in the same colony, have a different job, and your body's going to be different. It's going to look different. All ants are born the same, but they more adapt to whatever role they're going to be playing like that. So consider the ant more so in a church aspect, we'll say. Some of us, being as ants to God, if you want to look at it like that, some can play music, some will cook food for it, some will teach, some will preach. You all have to take on the fittingness of that, and ants never wake up and take a day off. They never really wake up and just say, well, I don't feel like it today, or this wasn't as good of a day of being an ant as normal. It just doesn't even occur to them because they're just so work-driven, constantly, always doing something productive for the hive. So let's look into what ants can do a little bit, because I like this topic. So ants, when they stick together, make bridges, literal bridges. You can see that for the other ants to cross. No one has to say, hey, you make this bridge. First ant that comes across it reaches out, grabs it. A second one will go grab it, let go, and the other one will grab him to make it to where the entire colony will cross across them to get the food, to get something like that. They don't even consider it. What if Christians did that? To help other people get into church, to help other people do different things. We just instantly became a bridge. We didn't even think about it. It just occurred to us, oh, this is how to get that person to Jesus or to church. They become the bridge instantly. These other weird ants with the huge swollen bellies right there, those are honeypot ants. So we're talking about honey again here, but these are a different kind. These do nothing but eat nectar all day and process it into a different kind of nectar, more of an ant vitamin pack, if you will. And they'll actually carry these ants or keep them, and other ants will eat the nectar from them. They're kind of like the food mules for the ants. So they don't really load them onto wagons. They'll just gorge on it, and they'll carry those ants with them, and they'll eat from those. I guess they throw it up or something. It's kind of gross when you think about it, but you're an ant. You gotta do what you gotta do. But they actually serve their role that way. The two different ants right here at the bottom, they're different sizes. One of them, just if the bigger you are, you become more of a guardian ant, a war ant. They call them something different, but a soldier ant. There you go. And as soon as you get the role of a soldier ant, their bodies start to morph and start to change. And they become a lot bigger than the worker ants or the smaller ones down there, so they can defend the hive. I guess a parallel you can draw to this is some of us have been in this long enough. It's time we go ahead and get bigger and become the soldier ants more so than the workers for that. Gotten comfortable, gotten lulled. I've talked to a lot of people about that this week. Just they're in a really good position. They've been doing a lot, but they're not in the position they need to be for their skill level. You know what I mean? Like, if Gary came in and listened to us, that would be really great. But Gary can play music good and he puts together awesome puppet shows. So he needs to be doing that because he's better at that. And that way everybody can benefit from it. That's why they get bigger, not for themselves, to protect the hive, to serve it better in their role. And then you have the queens. Queens, again, don't do anything. They just lay eggs and have all the kids for the hive. And then over here, this one's kind of applies to today's. It just looks like a big glob. Just a big glob of ants. What that actually is a flooded the colony, and the ants will make air bubbles and trap it in their hairs around them at the bottom, and it'll make a floating island for all the other ants to climb on, the queen and all the babies you can see there at the top. They save the hive. A lot of ants drown when they're doing this, and a lot of them die, but in dying, they keep all the other ants alive. It's a very selfless life being an ant. You always have the hive mind, the colony mindset to do that. So as Christians, we got a lot of lost people out there. I'm not saying to literally sacrifice yourself for these lost people, but somebody did that, and a lot of other people did it following him suit. So I'm not saying not to do that either if you get the chance, but consider the ant. There's a lot more than just not being lazy to ants that we can apply to the church. For one, these are ant colonies. So they've been casted in aluminum probably, melted down, poured in the hole. Every ant died during this process, by the way. So, not necessarily done all the time. But you can see they start with the colony up top. It's a lot. And they root it down. Every chamber on the tentacles, we'll call it, is just a waste chamber. So they even keep their waste way far away from the colony where they work and keep the queen and do all the food. They're not silly animals. They're not just pointless going around grabbing food and taking it back to a hole. They have systems set up. The weirder ones on the left that have like the double loops, it might be hard to see where you guys are. Those are fermentation chambers where they actually bring in grass, store their nuts and all that so their food doesn't go bad for the winter. Ants do that with just grass and other things. Fermentation chambers. So they also put up and make sure that they're going to make it. So as churches today just going with the wind, might want to start putting some roots down. Things are going to get weird here soon. You might have to get out and make an island to save the rest of your members. And they're not just smaller colonies like that. This is probably an American ant colony, but in more so places like Africa and Brazil where they've been there for hundreds of years in the same colony, they get quite enormous. That is an ant colony. Can you believe that? Just everything they do. And that's just what they've dug up so far. Who knows where that goes? They say some can even go for miles. Miles of integrated tunnels just underground of ant colonies. So consider the ant. You don't have to consider the not lazy part. But little bitty things don't become this smart and doing all these great works from being lazy in the first place. Or selfish. A lot of Christians out there today would be like, well, I'm just going to go stand on this leaf. I'll just let all you die. I'm not going to make a bridge out of myself or a floating island. So how long wilt thou sleep, O sluggard? When wilt thou arise out of thy sleep? Yet a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to sleep. So shall thy poverty come as one that travelleth, and thy want as an armed man. Now we're talking about being lazy. So now it's just saying that people that sleep all the time and don't ever do anything, it's calling you out biblically. This is saying you're a sluggard, and if you only do a little sleep, you should be all right, more the instruction. But if you don't, so shall thy poverty come as one that travelleth. Back then when you traveled, you couldn't be carrying around a debit card because bank systems like that didn't really exist yet. So when you were traveling, most of the time you had a small coin pouch. Most of the time you would run out of coin, you would have to start begging. That's where like the vagabond, moving homeless people comes around from the terms back in these days. So shall thy poverty come as one that travelleth. I mean, Bible even says in other places, you don't work, you don't eat. Well, this is just saying don't be lazy or you'll be poor. It's as simple as that. If you're lazy, you're going to be broke. I mean, nowadays we have the different kind of welfare systems and stuff in checks where you're not going to starve and have to go traveling around like back in the day. And a lot of people taking advantage of that to not be biblical, to not work, to, I don't even know what they do all day when they're sitting around there. You would think there'd be all kinds of crazy stuff built in, streets would be cleaner and everything like that. But when people get free time, they just watch more Netflix and more YouTube and do more whatever they were doing anyway in their unproductive time. So that is where this verse will come into play. The busy sluggard, we can call it. The new age busy sluggard. Very busy, always doing something, always has something to do. Nothing will ever show for it. I can play every video game, watch every TV show, and you wouldn't know the difference looking at me. You'd have no benefit from that. I can work out every day, study the Bible every day. You're going to start noticing some differences, some different changes in everything. Difference between just busyness and being a sluggard. So, also about this, since we're talking about being busy and that being a good thing, let's also keep in mind the story. What story was that? We did it in trivia. Yeah, Martha and Mary. So, when Jesus came and visited Martha and Mary, one of them was, in a sense, not doing anything, while the other was going around and cleaning and getting food and all that. So she was busy. She was like, well, I'm not supposed to be a sluggard. I'm going to work and serve God. But this was God. This was God that was there. What work are you going to do that's going to impress God when He's right in front of you? No, thank you. You better be impressed by his works being right in front of you and giving him praise, not expecting praise from him for working and all that. So consider the sluggard or consider the ant and be wise and don't be a sluggard. But also stop and embrace it every now and then. Embrace the Christianity that you've brought onto, because it's not all about work, it's about eternity too. We do get to be with God forever because of this. We do make God happy if we're living right because of this. And that is a way better feeling than some people who just, again, rootless, floating around in the wind, believing whatever somebody tells them to believe, whatever the trends are at the time. They have nothing to really hold on to that can't just be moved, that isn't movable. So, your faith, you need to make it unmovable, is what I'm saying. A naughty person, a wicked man, walketh with a forward mouth. He winketh with his eyes and speaketh with his feet. He teacheth with his fingers. Forwardness is in his heart. He deviseth mischief continually. He soweth discord. Therefore shall his calamity come suddenly. Suddenly he shall be broken without remedy. I've never seen anybody speak with their feet before, but teach with their fingers. You know, when you think about the sly trickster dude, they're like flipping a coin or something, toothpicking, winking, gold tooth or something, like the old cartoons, that wolf guy. But this is more so explaining him. That might be where they got it from even. There's somebody about tricks, somebody who just doesn't have good in their heart that can come and get involved with your lives. And I'm sure all of us in here come in contact with this person at least once. Some people get taken for thousands and thousands of dollars or something. Some people just get tricked into doing something weird, and now that person's mad at you and you had no idea because this person told you to do it. Just little mind games, little psychological, social games. But anyway, they're both evil. They're both the same thing. So therefore shall his calamity come suddenly, and suddenly he should be broken without remedy. Because think about that person. If they do you wrong like that, are you ever really going to trust them again? Are you ever going to be as buddied up or as friends with them again like that? Probably not. And if you do forgive them, which we should, you're not going to make the same mistake that you did before with the forward man, broken without remedy. These 6 things doth the Lord hate, yea, 7 are an abomination unto him. So now we're getting into what God really hates. We talked about the wicked man, wicked woman a lot. Now what necessarily about them is God hating of it? A proud look, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that deviseth wicked imaginations, feet that be swift in running to mischief, a false witness that speaketh lies, and he that soweth discord among brethren. So let's break it down just a little bit more on the 7. Proud looks. See it all the time. Presidential candidates and all of this, kings, just looking proud. I don't know if this is the exact proud look necessarily that God's talking about, but power corrupts. And absolute power corrupts absolutely. We've heard that a lot of times. Very easy when you're in these positions of power to fall victim to pride. That is one of the biggest sins ever. It brought down Solomon, brought down all kinds of other people. A lying tongue, brought down because of the lies from them. You get proud, you start to believe things because you wouldn't believe things wrong. You start saying things that I can't be wrong because of how many times I've been right before. So they'll kind of start playing into each other. Proud looks, lying tongues, hands that shed innocent blood. This one's kind of tricky. You can think like just murderers and all that, but it's innocent blood. Things that can't really defend itself, things that had no reason to die in the first place other than just existing, I guess. But hands that shed innocent blood. You don't think God doesn't hate that? You don't think if you just went and killed somebody, God would be like, whoa, what are you doing? I did not tell you to kill that person. So, a heart that deviseth wicked imaginations. Somebody had to study and think of how to do that at the top and figure it out. Who would sit around and imagine that? Like, oh, I got a very effective way that I can do that. Why are you thinking of these things? And also, get out of my house. I don't want to be around you. Whoever that guy was. But hearts that deviseth wicked imaginations. Feet that be swift in running to mischief. Somebody will always want to take part. You got a bad idea that might turn out a little bit good. You can find somebody to do it with you. You want to go drink with a bar or drink at a bar? Bet you can find some people to go with you. You want to find people to go do bad stuff with you, or you got to fight somebody, you want a whole bunch of people to come in because he talk smack about you. You got a lot of people that'll run quickly to help you go fight. And we're not supposed to be doing that anyway. So running to mischief. People are always just ready to go do bad stuff with you. Don't be one of those people. Try not to rope those people in with you when you're doing the bad stuff. False witness that speaketh lies. This is easy. What's different than that than a lying tongue? Said a lying tongue already, now a false witness that speaketh lies. Well, a lie can be like, Gary, I don't know where that bag is, even though I know it's right beside you. Technical lie may be harmless. But if I'm like, Gary broke all of our stuff and said he wasn't going to pay for it. Now it's a little bit bigger of a deal. False witness. I said I seen Gary do something that he didn't do. Back then, they didn't have cameras. They didn't have a lot of stuff that could prove it. So lying was a lot more serious. Even in the early days of America, when you gave your word, if you gave your word and didn't do it, you could be labeled, I forgot what they called, a liar and a coward and all kinds of other stuff. And they would even get a plaque and put it on your business. If somebody challenged you to a duel or something and you said no, they could get a government-issued placard and said this person is a coward, refused the date of the duel on this and this. And they had to put that on their house, their businesses, on everything. So it was kind of a big deal to break your word back then. It was a big deal not to lie or to give false witness. So that's what the difference is, just that is, versus just saying, oh, that's a green shirt when it's a red hat, like Eric says a lot. So a little bit different. He that soweth discord among brethren, this one's probably the easiest one that is around here. Just gossip, rumors, lies, people that try to pit other people against each other. It's really not to do that. Some people like to watch other people fight. So like me and James, I'm sure we've gotten people into a lot of fights just by talking, just by just being kind of mean, like, hey, can you believe this person does this? And you start it and you kind of step away and watch the chaos unfold. Very unbiblical. We should not have done that ever, but I did do that before a little bit. But that's sowing discord. That is the thing. God hated doing that. Even though mine wasn't necessarily in a Christian sense, I wasn't like getting them riled up about God or twisting their beliefs about God. This is what I was talking about here with the brethren. We as Christians all together are brethren. So if you want to do things that can damage faith, think about how many people out there won't go to church because discord with their brethren last time they went to church. So that's the problem. That's why God hates it. Because for silly human reasons, we deny divinity aspects that come with the church. That is not biblical. That is a silly human thing to do. So my son, keep thy father's commandment and forsake not the law of thy mother. Bind them continually upon thine heart and tie them about thy neck. When thou goest, it shall lead thee. When thou sleepest, it shall keep thee. And when thou awakest, it shall talk with thee. So continue to listen to these words. Think about them all the time. And they're what's going to get you through. You wake up, come across a situation. Proverbs said this. I've been warned about this, so I'm going to do this. Because it also doesn't leave you hanging, saying watch out for all these things. It doesn't tell you how to defeat it. This actually tells you how to beat those things. Like, hey, don't even be on the same street as this. Sometimes it's as easy as just avoiding it. Or, hey, run from this, flee from this. Or, hey, listen, you've told you these words are going to sound sweet. Don't listen to them. So it kind of gives you warning. This is what this is saying. Like, pay attention to this. Bind them on your heart. And it'll get you through the hard times when all this starts happening. For the commandment is a lamp and the law is a light. It gets a little funny here. And reproofs of instruction are the way of life. Proving instructions are the way of life. Proving that instructions are right when you do them, like, I can't believe that worked. Proving them when they're wrong, we're like, oh, yeah, I guess I should have followed the instructions on this one too. It's just a way of life. To keep thee from the evil woman, from the flattery of a tongue of a strange woman, lust not after her beauty in thine heart, neither let her take thee with her eyelids. For by means of a whorish woman, a man is brought to a piece of bread. Man is brought to a piece of bread, and the adulteress will hunt for the precious life. So again, being warned about a woman, she's batting her eyelashes at you. I guess is what that was talking about. And the beauty of her, like looking at a girl, how pretty she is and all that. If they're doing that to attract you, you're probably not the only one they're doing that to. Don't feel too special there, homie. But, this one, by means of a whorish woman, will turn a man into a piece of bread. Now, I've seen guys caught up in a lot of this stuff, and we've all seen them call it henpecked and all that. It's a different thing with that girls can do to guys in relationships and everything. But when they do it, and it's not their wives or it's not their girlfriend, and you see them acting this way over girls that do just like that with everybody, it's kind of heartbreaking as a dude, as a friend. You're like, God, man, you gotta leave this one alone, dude. What are you doing? And I've seen a whole lot of, not knocking on these guys, but I've seen it a lot throughout my life. We'll say that. And I guess you could say they're likened to a piece of bread, because like, what are you doing at that point? Like, you're just feeding the monster, another person's monster, and it's not even benefiting you at all. I'm going to need a little bit more time on this one, maybe in the recap, but I thought about that for a while. You got turned into a piece of bread. So it's brought to a piece of bread, and the adulteress will hunt for the precious life. Naturally. So can a man take fire in his bosom and his clothes and not be burned? Can one go upon hot coals and his feet not be burned? So he that goeth into his neighbor's wife, whosoever toucheth her, shall not be innocent. So, people, have you ever seen that? The people walk across hot coals and everything? If you do it really quick, which isn't necessarily walking, like just quick, step, your body will actually form that vapor layer between the coals, and it won't burn your feet that much. But have you ever been walking on like a beach somewhere, and just the sand itself gets so hot it starts hurting your feet, you got to get off of it? It's because you've used up all your natural oils and stuff that have been on your feet, and now it's just your straight skin coming in contact with that really hot sand. So you got a little bit of a time built into your feet, your oil glands and all of that. But sometimes they don't work. And this wasn't talking about those weird little party tricks where you run across coals. It's talking about walking across hot coals. Pretty gross. Pretty gross, burning the bottom of your feet. So this is just saying, how did you think you were going to walk on this fire and not get burned? It's what happens when you play with fire, you get burnt. And then it goes into saying more so about why. He that goeth into his neighbor's wife, whosoever toucheth her, shall not be innocent. If you cheat naturally, you're not innocent, obviously. We've done this a lot. I've done it, had it both ways. Been cheated on way back in like middle school, high school days, and you're just playing silliness being in school. But this can go on to hurt you, and this is just saying, don't even do that. Don't take part in it. Men do not despise a thief if he steal to satisfy his soul when he is hungry. But if he be found, he shall restore sevenfold. He shall give all the substance of his house. So this one's kind of weird. If you catch somebody stealing, but they're stealing food because they're hungry, I don't know about you guys, but me, I'd be like, okay, well, you could have taken a lot of other stuff, and at least I know it's just you were hungry. So it's a lot more forgivable. This is why it's saying don't despise. He was hungry. People act weird and do a lot of different stuff when they're hungry. Even if it comes to steal, what, are they just going to die to not steal when the food's right there? No, they're going to steal to stay alive. Just a human thing that's to stay alive. So when you catch somebody stealing, it's saying don't despise the thief if that's why he's doing it. But even in doing that, so this applies to all thievery back then, if you be found, you shall restore sevenfold. So if you take a piece of bread, now you owe me 7, maybe 8. I'm not sure how the sevenfold works. 7 or 8. He shall give all the substance of his house. Thievery also really looked down upon back then. Again, we didn't have cameras and all that. And somebody could just wipe out your entire, everything you have, your whole bank account, just by taking one bag or something. So thievery back then, a very, very punishable offense. So, but this is just saying use discretion when you catch a thief and all that. I had a master sergeant in the military. He's a big guy, worked out a lot, it's pretty huge. And one day he comes into work and his knuckles are busted up. He's like, guys, you're never going to believe what happened. I was like, what? He's like, well, heard some stuff going on outside, but I thought it might just be my son. He said, but then I looked on the cameras, he had a camera system set up, and seen somebody trying to get into his car. So he goes outside and he's like, that's not my son, that's just somebody trying to get into my car. So he runs over there and grabs him, just pushes him in the car, won't let this guy out. This is like a 19, 20-year-old kid. He's like a 40-something-year-old dude. He's about to retire and get out. But he said he was just holding the kid, and he called 911. He's like, hey, I got this guy here. He's robbing me. He's robbed my car. I just called him. I'm holding him down. I don't know what you want me to do. Like, I guess just hold him until we get there. Don't let him get away. He's like, okay. So he's just holding this kid there. And the kid's calling his dad and calling everybody. He's like, you're staying here until the cops get here. I don't know what to tell you. So he said as soon as the cops came in, the kid started freaking out and running. He said he like started punched the kid like 3 times to get him to stop. So he shouldn't have done that, but the kid wasn't hungry to do that stealing. If you get caught stealing, the Bible's like, oh, well, you shouldn't have done that. You owe 7-fold. So I guess he took 7 folds out with his fist. So it's not good to steal. If you get caught, people will be very mad at you. But whoso committeth adultery with a woman lacketh understanding. He that doeth it destroyeth his own soul, like we were talking about earlier. Thieving doesn't destroy your own soul. You can destroy other people's lives. You get caught, now you owe them 7-fold. That might cause you a lot of hardship. But in this one, you destroy your own soul. A wound and dishonor shall he get, and his reproach shall not be wiped away. What does this mean? It's very hard to be forgiven for doing this. For jealousy is the rage of a man, therefore he will not spare in the day of vengeance. He will not regard any ransom, neither will he rest content, though thou givest many gifts. This is just a warning, even the Bible's warning. If you cheat on somebody, like with their husbands or with their wives, it's going to be very hard for that other person to forgive you, whoever that is. So they might forgive you, but you can give them cars, houses, and all that. Nothing really is going to make it okay. And the Bible warns this. You want to make a dude mad. The rage of a man, not anger of a man. The rage of a man. Anger, you want to go hurt somebody. Rage, you don't care if you get hurt in the process to hurt that person. There's a little bit of a difference between that. So this is just saying that is one fire that is very, very hard to quench and calm down. Very hard to quench and calm down. That's it. We'll end it there. Any questions? A little long there. Be on Proverbs 7 next week.